Rink Wide Vancouver, pre-game, post-game, every game, presented by Bodog. From sports odds to free casino games, make a play at Bodog.net. Wadden and JPat here with you with another edition of the pre-game shows. We're going to spend our New Year's Eve, JPat, watching some hockey as the Canucks head into Calgary to take on the Flames. The final game of 2022. The Canucks going to want to get off on the right foot to start off 2023 in this one.
Yeah, although they can't start the new year because the old one's not done just yet. So this is about putting a bow on 2022 and then turning the page. And look, we'll have lots of time to analyze what goes on in the new calendar year. But let's hope that there's more wins for the Vancouver Canucks and just less drama. And when we talk about drama, of course, the Canucks, once again, having to move past what some perceived as a massive story, others not so much. But I thought some good coaching by Bruce Boudreau after practice in Calgary yesterday, basically taking ownership of that entire JT Miller, Colin Delia drama and saying, no, that's on me, that's the coach, and trying to diffuse the situation. Whatever the case, it looks like it's going to be Spencer Martin in goal, so Colin Delia and JT Miller, maybe they'll exchange glares on the bench, but I don't think Colin Delia is going to be in action for this one. So you always want to win your final game of the season or the final game of the calendar year. And look, the Canucks 6 points back of the Calgary Flames in the standings. Poor performance in Winnipeg the other night. So this is a bounce back game for them. Unfortunately, they've had a few too many bounce back games already in the 35 games that they've played this season.
All right, let's get to the lineup change presented by Delaney's OK Tire out on Fraser Highway in Langley. You mentioned Spencer Martin in goal there. Expecting any other changes in the lineup?
Well, I think Martin comes back in. And again, Colin Delia was fine in Winnipeg the other night, but he's the third stringer. Spencer Martin has been the guy in the absence of Thatcher Demko. And we saw that a rested Spencer Martin was good the other night against the San Jose Sharks. I was a little surprised that they didn't come back to him in Winnipeg. But again, he's rested here, and we'll see if that allows him to deliver another solid performance. He was a winner in Calgary in a shootout a couple of weeks back when the Canucks were at the Saddle Dome in the middle of the month. As far as other lineup changes, it's hard to know exactly what Bruce Boudreau's thinking. We don't have eyes on the team at the morning skate in Calgary this morning. So I will say this much, that on the video that the team posted yesterday, I saw Sheldon Dries working on the second power play unit. So it won't surprise me if Sheldon Dries gets back in. And that could be as simple as him taking the spot of Nils Amon, who played in Winnipeg and then was sent to the minors. But of course, the team called up Will Lockwood as well. And so he might be an option. But if Lockwood gets in there and Dries gets in there, then you're looking at somebody that played the other night outside of Amon. You'd need another body to come out of the lineup. So we could see a couple of lineup changes with Sheldon Dries and Will Lockwood. They're both options to play for the Vancouver Canucks tonight.
Now, the result wasn't in the Canucks' favor against Winnipeg, but they did get off to a good start. The last time they played Calgary, they got off to a great start as well. Going to want to repeat that this evening.
Yeah, but it's another reminder that the game isn't 5 or 10 minutes long. It is a 60-minute and sometimes longer than that effort that's required. But yeah, remember they were up 2-0 before the game was 2 minutes old when they were in Calgary. Bo Horvat and Connor Garland got the Canucks off to a nice start. And then in Winnipeg, in the first minute of play the other night, Elias Pettersson stepping up and intercepting that pass and setting up Andrei Kuzmenko. So Canucks, yeah, I mean, we liked the first 10 minutes the other night against the Jets. Unfortunately, things shifted. Winnipeg was able to wrestle momentum away and then took over and dominated the rest of the way. So the Canucks know that wasn't a good enough performance start to finish. The start was all right. The rest of the way, not so much. So looking for a better 60-minute balanced performance from the Vancouver Canucks tonight.
Looking for a better effort from the big guns as well. Have they gone quiet as of recent?
Well, all right, let's keep that in perspective. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that Pettersson had a 5-point night and Bo Horvat had back-to-back 4-point nights. But the big three, and when I talk about the big three, I'm talking about Pettersson, Horvat, and we'll throw JT Miller in there as well, although I guess Andrei Kuzmenko perhaps could be considered a contender to be in the big three. But I'll go with the big three that started this season. Not many nights this year that they've had quiet nights back-to-back. In fact, only once all season, and they've played 35 games, only once have those three not accounted for a goal in consecutive games, and it was that forgettable. In fact, you may have already forgotten the games against Washington and Florida at the start of December when they lost 5-1 on consecutive games. The big three didn't come through and score in either of those games. But otherwise, these guys have been reliable, dependable. Of course, Bo Horvat's been on this incredible run of goal scoring. So I think you'll see a response from those three. And the question is, will you see a better response overall from the entire Canuck lineup tonight?
And that power play, it was red hot earlier in the season. The last 8 games or so have sort of come back down to earth.
Yeah, look, it's still 8th in the National Hockey League by percentage. So it's a top 10 power play, 9th in the league in terms of actual goals scored. But it's been a while since this power play has stepped up and really put the hammer down. You go back to a game in Vegas over a month ago and they scored 3 times. You're not going to score 3 power play goals in every game, but the component parts are there. All of their top-end guys are healthy, whether it's Besser at the net front, whether they go back to Kuzmenko. All of the pieces of the puzzle are in place, and yet, kind of quietly, the power play's been fizzling here a little bit. The last 14 games since that night in Vegas, the power play working at 19.5%, so under 20%. But the last 8 games, it's down to 15%. So we know they've had issues on special teams, but most of those have been on penalty kill. All of a sudden, the power play's gone a little quieter than we're used to, so we'll see if tonight's a breakout night for the Canucks with the man advantage.
It was a slow start to the season for Calgary. They got a big win against Seattle the other night, and they're finding ways to pick up points now.
Yeah, they went into Seattle on the back end of back-to-backs. They lost at home to the Oilers, the Battle of Alberta, and you thought maybe that would take a fair bit out of them emotionally. Those games always, have... they kind of go to that next level in the province of Alberta. So a loss to the Oilers, they had to turn around, fly to Seattle, and they came up with a big win, 3-2 over the Kraken, team that they're right there with in the standings. And they got a third period goal from Jonathan Huberdeau, and were able to eke out the victory there. So yeah, a good win for them. They've been off. That was Wednesday night. They've had a couple of days to rest up and get ready for this one. And you're right, they're 4-1-1 in their last 6 hockey games. And beyond that, just 3 outright losses in their last 14. So they're picking up points, they're chipping away in the standings. And in fact, the last time the Canucks were in Calgary, both of those teams were below the playoff bar. Again, with that kind of run where you're getting points in 11 out of 14 games, the Flames are above the playoff bar as they head into action tonight. Of course, they want to continue to climb the standings. They think that they're one of the top teams in the division. Right now, their record would suggest otherwise, but there's still a second half of hockey, and I do think the Flames are going to be heard from before this thing is out.
Spencer Martin better be ready. The Flames have been peppering goalies over the last 3 games, 40-plus shots on goal.
Yeah, I said they eked out a win in Seattle. I guess territorially, they dominated that hockey game. They had 44 shots on the Kraken there, 47 in a 2-1 loss to the Oilers, and just couldn't solve Stuart Skinner that night. And then the game before that, they registered 45 shots. So, yeah, that's a lot of pucks towards the opponent's net. And Spencer Martin, we talked about him being rested and refreshed. He better be, because pretty good chance that the Flames are going to bring the attack. It's one thing to get those shots, though, and this has sort of been the story of this Calgary team all season, spending time in the offensive zone, controlling the puck, but not a ton of pop in their offense.
Yeah, they got not as much star power, if you will, from last season, but they've got some balanced scoring this year.
They do. They spread the scoring around. They just like a little bit more of it on a lot of nights, but who wouldn't? They're a bottom 3rd team in the National Hockey League when it comes to goals per game. They're led by Elias Lindholm in terms of points. He's got 33 on the season. Old friend Tyler Toffoli with 15 goals. That's tops on the team. And then you've got a guy like Nazem Kadri who's getting paid, but has been a nice addition to that hockey club, as I think most people figured he would be. We mentioned Huberdeau. It's been a little bit slow in terms of points for him, but he did score a big goal the other night against the Kraken. Then you get to players like Dylan Dubé and defenseman Rasmus Andersson. And so they've got guys that can produce, but they don't have that top-end talent that they enjoyed the last couple of seasons when they had Johnny Hockey putting up 100-plus points and Matthew Tkachuk as well. So, a lot of low-scoring games. They try to grind it out. That is the Flames' style, and we'll see if they're able to play that way against the Canucks tonight.
Flames are known for their blue line. You mentioned his name earlier there. Rasmus Andersson having himself quite the season.
He really has come on and developed into, if not the top defenseman in Calgary, certainly right there. And this is a blue line that has Mackenzie Weegar, a new addition, part of that Matthew Tkachuk trade. Noah Hannafin has been a solid player for a lot of years. Of course, Chris Tanev is there as well. But Rasmus Andersson has sort of emerged from that pack and brings an offensive punch. The guy's got 5 goals. He's got 26 points. And of his 5 goals, 4 of them have been game winners. They use them in shootouts as well. So, some offense there from the back end. And the way that they pair these two, they've got Rasmus Anderson playing with Noah Hannafin, and that leaves Mackenzie Weegar and Chris Tanev. So that's the top four, and it's a formidable top four for the Calgary Flames. And the Canucks, that's what they're going to have to try to penetrate tonight if they're going to be able to generate scoring opportunities. But Anderson's a guy that gets all over the ice, so keep an eye on him. He's not hard to find once the puck drops and the game begins.
Injuries not a concern for the Flames this year. They've been pretty healthy as a whole.
Yeah, and when Chris Tanev signed in Calgary, I think a lot of people thought, is he going to be able to survive the 4 years of his contract? And we saw the injuries here. Warrior put his body on the line on a nightly basis, but he's managed to stay healthy, and that's kind of been the Calgary way the last bunch of years. And coming into this game, they've lost 29 man games all season. 29! Travis Dermott played for the first time the other night in game 35, so Dermott alone had been out of action for 34 games for the Vancouver Canucks. And then, you look at Thatcher Demko, who's been out, and Tanner Pearson's been out long-term, and Tucker Pullman, and on it goes. And, of course, the Canucks had a rash of injuries right off the start of the season. Calgary, again, 29 man games lost. So, you're not wishing injury on anybody, but it is a contact sport, and guys come in and out of the lineup. But, I guess if you're the Flames and you hear that kind of statistic, you probably knock on wood that the good health carries over into the new year, and that it wasn't just a 2022 thing for the Calgary Flames. But, 29 man games lost. That's pretty impressive, actually, and you just wonder if that good fortune can hold over the balance of the schedule.
Canucks looking for some good fortune tonight, and that's where I am focusing my Bodog Best Bet. Taking the Canucks on the money line. Look at that value. Getting 2-1 on your money, plus 200. Of course, they beat the Flames in their last meeting against Calgary, in Calgary, no less, like in Vancouver, to get off on the right foot to close out 2022, JPat. And look at that value. 2-1 on your money.
Well, I do expect a better performance than we saw from them against the Winnipeg Jets, and the Calgary Flames have their issues. And if you're the Canucks and you're looking for inspiration, that last game ended up winning 4-3 in a shootout. They were up 2-0 early, and then the Flames rallied with 3 straight before Sheldon Dries scored. And maybe that's why Bruce Boudreau is looking to get Sheldon Dries back in the lineup, a little mojo in that building. Whatever the case, it was a pretty solid defensive effort. Even though they gave up 3 from the middle stages of that hockey game, that was it for the scoring for the Calgary Flames. Spencer Martin stopped all 3 shootout attempts as well. So there is something to draw on there, and we'll see if they can back it up. And it's the last time that these two teams are going to see each other for a while. Funny scheduling that the Canucks are in Calgary twice in a 2-week span. The Flames don't make their first trip to Vancouver until the final night of March, and then they're back a week later. So Canuck fans are going to have to wait a while still to see the Calgary Flames, and once they do, they're going to see them, I think, 8 days apart, right near the end of the regular season.
We promised that we had more Bodog bucks to give away, and that we do tonight. $50 more. Here's what you got to do. You can post your time and period below, or head over to Twitter at RinkWideVan and post your time and the period for the game-winning goal. The closest will win 50 Bodog bucks. You got to have a Bodog account. Good luck to everybody that enters. All right, the best part of the pregame show, the final one for 2022. Who's going to do something in this game tonight?
Well, I'm going off the script a little bit here because usually it's a player, but I mentioned this earlier. I'm going with the power play. The power play's got to do something. Now, the power play snapped the puck around the other night in Winnipeg, had a couple of opportunities, and in fact, after the Canucks had scored in the first minute of play, they got a power play not that much later. It would have been a golden opportunity to extend that lead, and they couldn't, and unfortunately for them, they lamented that at the end of the night because, the Jets ended up taking over. But again, this is a power play that has been productive. It's just kind of dipped a little bit here of late. So whether it's Elias Pettersson getting his first power play goal of the season, Quinn Hughes getting his first power play goal of the season, or anybody else that's out there, hey, even the second unit, the Canucks would take power play goals tonight against the Calgary Flames. So, I'm looking at the power play, first unit, second unit, anybody with the man advantage, do something to help this team get the split of this quick 2-game road trip.
Canucks are going to be looking for a W to close out the year. Let's see if they can do it in Calgary. And we want to wish everybody a happy new year, ringing in 2023 with Rink Wide Vancouver. But before we do that, watch the Canucks and the Flames live from Cowtown. This has been another edition of the Rink Wide Vancouver podcast presented by Bodog. For Jeff Patterson, I'm Andrew Wadden. Remember, Rink Wide is the show that always scores.